Hi, Gary Simonelli here with G-Rock Recording. Today I'm showing you the second half of how I use the Boss GT-1000 as my main guitar rig. And as you can see, I've got the Tone Studio up for the GT-1000. I'm connected to it now, to my one patch that I use. And here's my effects chain. And I'll show you a little bit what I do here. So obviously here's my guitar in. Effects is my wah-wah pedal. This is the wah I use. The cry wah. That's totally okay. So my effects chain is my guitar, obviously, goes into my Shure wireless, then into the front end of the GT-1000. And the first thing I use is an EQ. So I kind of EQ the guitar going into the amps. And here this is how I have it's a parametric EQ. And these are all my settings for it. I hope you can see those. And then effects 1 is my phaser. Here are the settings for that. And the flanger. Now the flanger, I don't know if I'm always going to keep it as a flanger. I don't really use it that often to have it using up a slot, but for now, there it is, using a flanger. Then it goes into a divider. Just have it like that. I'll show you how I have the control set up for that in a moment, but I'll go through all the whole chain of things that I use. I'm not using this. This is there's an effects loop on it, so you can have external effects. So if I wanted to use another one of these internal effects slots, I could use maybe in the effects loop, or I can just use it right into the amp, right into the Boss GT-1000. That's typically how I would always run the phaser. It is right in front of the amp, right after my wah-wah pedal, into the phaser, and then into the amp. So that's how I'm doing it here. Same with the flanger. That's where I like them. You can do whatever you wish. Then, so my main guitar sound is my heavy distorted sound. So it goes into this amp. So amp number 2, it goes from to the divider. Then the distortion that I don't use. This is the effects return loop. I don't use that. Then I go right into the amp, which is the high gain amp. And here's the settings for that. That's how I use it. And I do use a little noise reduction. Probably I should use more than I do. It's on the input. Then after that, there's an EQ in case I need some sort of boost volume. But if you look on the amp has a solo switch and a solo level. So I'd rather make the amp louder than using an EQ boost or anything like that. So it's just easier for me to do that. And I have it set on high gain. That's my sound all the time. Check out my first video. It goes through some sounds. Then into an EQ. Now I believe I have this switching on when I click on the solo button. And I'll show you what I'm doing there in a moment. This is a graphics EQ. I might not even be using this. And then right after that, I have a delay. So going into a stereo delay. I believe it's stereo. I think it's just a mono delay. Then from there, they call this a mixer. It's stereo. This would be a volume control. Default, they use it as a volume control, and I don't use it that way. I use it for parameters and effects. That EQ not being used. That delay not being used. That delay not being used. And then I come to this, and I use the overtone. And basically, I've never used the actual real pedal, but this kind of gives like that. Listen to Van Halen's guitar starting on 1984. He started using an Eventide, I believe, to give him a doubler effect, and it seems like it's on all the time. And then from then on, I think he used it a lot. It was just always on. Give that a listen to. A good example would be Girls Gone Bad, Drop Dead Legs. I think he used it on everything, actually. Panama. But give that album a listen to, and he kind of uses like... anyway, these are the settings. Tweak them if you want. That's what I'm doing. This is the main delay, and I have it set as a shimmer. And these are my settings for that. And then they have some extra. This is a looper. I'm not using the looper. These are other dividers. You can do other things like this. You can branch off into other dividers and do other routing. I'm not doing that. There's another mixer. There's another divider. Another mixer. And then last but not least, here is my reverb. I use a plate, and it's on basically all the time, just like my delays. Here's the settings for that. Then down the line here, we go to speaker simulators. Now, Boss has their own, but I loaded IRs from Celestion. I'll show you a link to that. Here I can probably do it. I'll leave a link, but there it is. I do believe I used the Heritage Collection. And I think I also bought one other. Let's see, which one was that? This, I believe, is the Heritage. It comes with a bunch of different cabinets, but you can buy them individually. So I didn't need the 112, and I didn't need all that other stuff, so I bought this other one. And this one is Impulse for a 412 close back G12K 100. That's the one I bought. It was $11, $12. So those are the ones I have the same speaker cabinet loaded up for each one. Now here, these are your sub outs, I think they call them. And these are all the same. Now when you load these IRs, none of this stuff does anything. They have their own mics, and this becomes useless. At least you can't change any of this stuff directly on the GT-1000. I don't know why. Do not ask me why, but that's how it is. So I use the G412, which is the 412 cabinet, Celestion 12-inch. I believe they're greenbacks. And they have one for all. Now let me see. Okay. Let me find the actual, because I changed the name of them. So when you buy yours, if you care, I used the Celestion G12H55, and I think it's a different one. I think I used this one. I used that one, and I think that's the one I have loaded, and I do believe it is this one, the last one, 412. That is the one I'm using. And when you open the folder, they have these different sample rates. Son of a motherless goat. And I do believe I'm using the 96, and I'm using the 500 millihertz, or milliseconds, sorry. And I do believe I am running so there's a dark, fat, and fat 2, and an all. So you'll just have to kind of check those out and see what you like the best. Because I believe I am using the high gain 412 all. I think that was the one that I like the best. You can only load 4 of them at a time, so it's kind of difficult to really hear what they're all going to sound like. But I loaded those and picked the one that I like the best. So that's probably what you'll have to do. You might not like that particular speaker. The greenback was nice too, so you probably like that. But anyway, that's what I did. I loaded the same cabinet, and you can split these up. I split them off. I turned the stereo link off. So basically, there's a cabinet on each one of these. So on my left is the same one. I was actually going to try that. I was going to try having a different speaker cabinet emulation on, on both sides, so you have a little different sound, but I just went with that. So what I hear on stage is the same thing that's going on in front of the house. So that's what I'm doing. And don't quote me on this, but I don't believe any of this stuff works or does anything once you have your IRs loaded. So that's just nothing. The amp is, so I have a distortion. Let's see. Switch it from over here. So now I'm in there. So first thing it hits is a compressor. I'm using the orange. Then into amp. The amp is a diamond amp. The diamond amp, I do believe, is the Vox, like an AC 30 or 50. I think it's a 30. And it's going into that. That's what I'm using as my clean amp. Here are my settings. Then for that, excuse me. Then from there, I'm going into an EQ, just rounding out little pieces. I'm using a parametric EQ. Here are my settings for that. Then into a chorus, which I really don't need a chorus because I have the other one, but that's what it's using. So actually, I believe when I switch, it turns that off. Yeah, as you can see, it's switching that off, switching my overtone off when I go to my clean sound. I could probably make the clean sound a little cleaner, but there's the gain. This is all the settings, and that's that. I don't know if the solo switch affects that in any way. No. But go back. So as you can see, when on button 1, if you watch the first video, you'll see on button 1, if you press it, if you hit number 1 twice, it'll bring you into solo. And as you can see, what it does, it turned my EQ on. So here are my amp settings. Are they off? And you can see the solo switch coming on. That turns on and off as I press it. You just hit it and hit it again, and it turns off, toggles it. So in solo mode, kicks up my EQ. Here's my settings for that. Parametric. It's just a graphic EQ. I don't know if it's doing much of anything. I don't know, little boost 16, 8. Not sure why I chose those, but that's what I'm using on that. Turn it off. And then delays are on. Oh yeah, and then you can see, watch, so that was my solo, so you can see what's coming on and off. And here's the phaser. Phaser's coming on. There it is. FX1, the flanger. 4 and 5 are not being used. Then I switch between the 2 amps. This is what happens when I switch. It just flips it. And then Control 2, you can see it turning off all my ambient effects. Turn off my reverb, the delays, and here's the shimmer effect. Now I believe it'll turn that off too. Nope, leaves the shimmer effect off. Okay, so that's what that does. And then this is what I was talking about, the expression pedal. In the heel position, let me go onto one of the delays. Right, and go into the delay 2 for instance. So we're in delay 2, and the expression pedal is in its heel position. So if I bring that up, you can see the values increase. So I increase the time, the feedback, and the volume of the effect. And I do believe I do that on all of them. Nope, I don't do that on the clean one, which I could, but I don't. And if you look at, do I do that here? Nope, I just do it on that one, on delay 2. So I increase that so I have a little bit more. Okay, moving on. Now you've seen all that. That's how I do that. Now remember, the output, I split these. I take it out of stereo link. And I think I did that because I was going to put IRs on each one. So, but that's how I have it. That's how you can have it. And here's my master. Patch level 130. All this default. I didn't change any of this stuff. Carryover. So I have that on. If you're curious. Then in control, this is where all the buttons that I assigned to different things are here. So as you can see, num 1s through 5. So yeah, I have 1 is 1, so whenever I select 1, that's selecting the patch. And I just have it, you can see here, I have it all set for patch. So if I go to another patch, it'll be totally different. So I can have this totally different. Now if I had it on system, then it would be, if I change it on 1 on this patch, it would change it on all the patches. And I just choose to do it this way. And that's probably the longhand way to do it, but that's how I've done it. And here's number 2. I have FX1, then FX3, jumped around. These are not assigned. They're still dealing with the patches. Bank up and down, still the same. Control 1, the divider that switches between the 2 amps. Control 2 is off. So I'll show you how I have that set. Then I have the master delay on 3. It just turns it on and off. And then expression pedal switch is for the wah-wah pedal. And then expression, and that's that. This is where you actually do a lot of the assigning for the, like here's number 1. I have this assigned to switch 1. I'll show you page 2. So source is num1. That's the solo switch. So when you click it, it turns it on. Click it again, turns it off. That's that right there. There's nothing much here. And there you go. Okay. Then FX2. So when I switch, it turns it off. And then it turns the equalizer on. So when you hit num1, it turns it on for the solo boost. Then delay on and off. So you control 2. I'm turning off all the delays. Control 2. So master delay, reverb. And then here's the delay effects level right here. Expression. These are all the 3 things I'm changing. And then nothing else. And this one's not doing anything because I have it turned off. And that's it. This stuff it's not being used. So, and that's it on that. So that's basically how I have it all set up. Those are all the settings. You can go back through the video and check out everything here. I'll go. Okay, well, that wraps up today's video. I hope that helps. I know somebody was asking me about that. Okay, I had one comment on on this. So Roland Ready, I believe it is, was asking if I would share my patch. I guess I could also export it out, but without the IRs, it probably wouldn't sound the same, and you would be wondering what I did. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Gary Simonelli, G-Rock Recording. Talk to you soon.